I will get there. So this merger is complete. You do compete with some Marriott properties right in your own backyard, true?
True.
Okay, so how many times do you have conversations with guests that are saying, yes, but I'm going to be using my points with Marriott, or I'm going to be using my SPG points? I'm sure this happens a lot, doesn't it?
Not so much. No.
Okay, not too often. In some locations, it's a very big issue, and it may become something depending on how much market share you have versus how much market share they have. So some of the things to think about with mergers like this is why people are loyal to loyalty programs and why some are not. I know you do a lot already to create loyalty, and I thought that would be a good place for us to start. So at Vail Spa right now, what do you do to create loyalty? What's your strategy? What do you do?
Discounts.
Okay.
Yeah, 10% return discounts.
Okay.
We wow them with our wonderful staff.
Exceptional guest service.
The dazzle factor. Okay. Good.
We keep in touch with them. We call them. We email them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we sometimes underestimate the value of those simple things that we do, like calling and emailing and cast to your point service. Money, yeah, it's part of it, but it certainly is not all of it. So today I want to be able to give you some ways that you can think about loyalty, think of the things that you're up to in a way that truly does create loyalty, and be really mindful of that. So if you don't have a loyalty strategy, you're thinking about what our loyalty strategy is besides just giving a 10% discount. That's a tactic. That's not a strategy. Get you 5 elements that are going to create loyalty and give you some simple tactics for those. How can you create an unbreakable bond of true loyalty with your guests, and compare that to what you're up to right now? And hopefully we'll have an opportunity to share some experiences in creating loyalty. You know me, you know what I do, where I'm at, you know this lady, what she does, what she's all about. So I won't go into major introductions with you, but what I will be able to share with you is the fact that we experience a lot of other products, a lot of resorts. We're familiar with what a lot of other resorts are up to. So this is an opportunity for you to brainstorm a little bit and talk about those things that other people are doing, what's working and what's not working maybe. So on average, a loyal guest or a customer is worth up to 10 times as much as their first purchase. In fact, this is such a very large number that exponentially, think of the repeat business and the referrals that are generated from that. I think specifically at Vail Spa, you do an exceptional job of retaining your guests, keeping market share, and then having their friends and family tell more friends and family. What happens when that's not happening, though? Typical business is only going to hear from 4% of their dissatisfied guests, which really means that 96% of guests won't voice a complaint and 91% just won't come back, and you'll never know why. So for us to be able to give our guests that are unhappy a voice is not just good for business, but it's also going to be something that's going to give you some clues into how you can create the right type of loyalty strategy. It's 6 to 7 times more expensive to get a new customer than it is to keep a current customer. And we know this from times like, I'm just thinking of last year when we were worried about whether or not our Central and South American guests were going to come through to Vail Spa. And we're going, what are we going to do? And we decided to just do some outbound blitzing on the phone. That costs money to do things like that. So if you don't think that those statistics apply to you, they most certainly do, and quite recently, as a matter of fact. So you are competing with these big guys that have big loyalty programs. Are they really creating loyalty, or are they just rewarding loyalty? Now there's a difference. So a study just recently by Connections was conducted through IPSOS Public Affairs, saying that 81% of Americans equate loyalty and rewards points with cash. So For us that maybe don't have loyalty programs, we look at that and go, okay, well, my near in low hanging fruit, easiest way to combat that is to just knock off a discount. That's not going to keep your guests coming. Money does not buy the loyalty. Money or a discount is just a way to reward it. But a points program itself is not required to create loyalty. It's those other things that you're going to do that are truly going to make a guest loyal. If the experience sucks, but I have points, I might do that a few times, but I'm still more likely to fly Delta than United. No matter how many miles I have on United, if they're not going to give me the service that I want, I am going to go to Delta anyway, and I'll just get another points program because they all have points programs. So that's kind of how we need to think about the difference between loyalty and rewards. So if your guest is that positive word of mouth machine for you and talking about how awesome you are and you've got to go there, if you have a $250 ADR, that one promoter can yield $1.8 million in revenue for you. And that's in a resort experience. So I'm not just talking about your condominium product. I'm talking about food and beverage and lessons and lift tickets and retail and airfare, ground transportation. This is how much they're worth. What happens if they're a demoter? What happens when they go and they tell a bunch of other people that it was a terrible experience? Is it more or less?
Probably more.
We lose a ton more money. We lose $3.6 million in revenue from that same word of mouth machine. The negative word of mouth machine is going to work much faster and it's going to sting for a much longer time. And that just means then that you do have more work to do and you have to make more of those phone calls and spend your money. All right, so what trends, what things, strategies can you use to actually create loyalty? And I want you to think of the products and services that you offer now and think of what buckets they actually fit in. Here are the 5 key steps or the trends. First is trust, creating trust. The second is acknowledging their identity. So however we try to acknowledge their uniqueness. The third is creating an experience. So an experience, simply defined, an experience is something that changes behavior, okay? And that's important because if you don't understand the distinction, then a guest coming to your property for 5 days is just a stay. So what's the experience, the transformative thing that occurs when a guest comes to your property? The fourth is flow, and I'll define what that means. And then fifth and final is meaning. What meaning is a guest coming for at your particular property or your resort? So let's start with the first one, trust. Believe it or not, trust mostly occurs before your guest even gets to your property, before your guest even comes to your destination. So trust itself is really built more, and that's what you all do. So I think of everything you do. It's on the phone. It's the pre-arrival conversations. It's picking up the phone when I call. It's responding to my email in a timely manner. It's accommodating my special request. It's not telling me, well, we have a request in for 321, but there are no guarantees. That's not building trust. That's going to corrode trust. So trust itself happens at the reservation sales process and at the reception upon arrival process. And over half of a guest's overall satisfaction with their entire experience is going to rest on creating that trust prior to arrival. This is great here at the Vero Beach Kimpton property in the middle. You see it's a postcard. So it's a beautiful handwritten postcard. Look, it's one sentence. Welcome. Thank you for being part of our Kimpton In Touch family. Enjoy your stay. And this is from the concierge. So this is a fantastic way to create trust and create anticipation for the upcoming trip, which is why I thought that would be particularly relevant for you. But even beyond that, just having the conversation with your guests on the phone and saying things like, welcome back. We're so excited to host you again. Tell me a little bit about your last trip. What did you like last time so that we can make sure you love it this time? Those are trust building statements that are going to take you very far in getting on the side that you want to be on with an experience like this. Okay, so trust, number one. Think of the things that you do to build trust and maybe other things that you could be doing to build trust. The second one here is identity. So a recent Wonderman study reported that 56% of respondents said they feel more loyal to brands that get me and show a deep understanding of priorities and preferences. So every other day of the year, I'm not a conference goer. Every other day of the year, I don't know how to ski, but I'm here for a week and I'm a skier. One size does not fit all, and ways that we embrace uniqueness or acknowledge uniqueness is going to be a bit different. It's simple things like the standard things like putting a welcome card somewhere. Other interesting things, though, that I've seen are the way that my alma mater, Hershey Resorts, actually personalizes chocolate bars for their guests. So upon reception, it'll say, you know, welcome Mr. and Mrs. Davis, right on the wrapper. And you're like, what? Another one here. This is for honeymooning families that I found at a property in Boca, where they monogrammed pillows for newlyweds. So it says Mrs. Jameson and Mr. Jameson. And this one on the right here, it's a handwritten card with a teddy bear and a bottle of wine. And acknowledging birthdays in general is always a big deal. So what could you be doing to embrace a guest's identity and the things that make them special and unique and different, or get them thinking about the aspirational side of their experience? Golden nuggets is the best way to start this. And you all at the point of sale and reservations are going to uncover these golden nuggets. Are they dog lovers? Are they a competitive swimmer? Do they love CrossFit? Are they concert goers? Is this their 59th Fish concert that they're in town for? Those little things, we call those golden nuggets. And those golden nuggets are things that can carry through in the entire experience. So when those are carrying through in the entire experience, then you're able to pick up on those. So let's say in a golf resort, it's a guest who loves Bloody Marys, and he had the best golf game of his life, and he gets a hole in one. What if you had a staff member that was standing there with a tray with a Bloody Mary when they walked in to say congratulations on your hole in one at a restaurant? That's an example of a golden nugget that behind the scenes we're having conversations, and the staff at the golf shop are calling the restaurant, and the restaurant is calling the front desk, and the front desk is in touch with the concierge. So those golden nugget moments, and we do a lot of work with these here at Guest Service Solutions, and making sure those golden nuggets carry through and we're touching them. Everybody's touching them. But those are tactical ways that you can embrace somebody's identity to create that kind of loyalty. So you heard me say something about flow a little bit. And flow itself is those things that we do to ease the guest's life. So grocery delivery service is one of those that immediately comes to mind for me. Offering concierge service is one that immediately comes to mind for me. Offering transportation service is great, but how could we tighten up the flow on that so that it's easing my life a little more? End-to-end experiences are going to become more and more the trend that we're seeing. So even Four Seasons is starting to look at, hey, do we need to offer Four Seasons jet service? Is that a thing? Why not? So the way that we're creating flow, and that doesn't mean that you have to be the designated transportation service, although some of you are, that does mean that maybe you could consider a way that you could make the arrangements for the guest without them having to do it themselves. Or you could be the one that's meeting the guests at Eagle Vale Airport because you're in the vehicle with those guests and doing an in SUV check-in before they even get here, so they don't even have to come to the front desk. That's the direction that a lot of loyalty programs are going. You'll also see things like anticipating what a guest needs or doesn't need. So you know that guests get sunburned constantly in the mountains because they don't think to bring sunscreen if they're coming from Delaware. So what if you had monogrammed sunscreen or logoed sunscreen, just like you have lip balm? You could do other things like that as well. And in some locations, they're banning certain kinds of sunscreen as well. So flow, if you're easing my experience, you have that thing readily available to me, and it's the right kind of sunscreen that is not banned because it's considered toxic to the environment. And then, of course, technology is helping a lot. So in this digital age, loyalty is becoming the area where we're creating that flow more. We're enabling through advents like Kipsu and just texting in general, ways that we can have that guest experience go more easily throughout from end to end. The experience itself, like I said, is changing the behaviors. So who knew that Pinehurst, for example, it's a partner of ours, they can change someone from being someone who thinks golf is boring or doesn't know how to golf to being a golfer with something like the Cradle. The Cradle is now a 786-yard mini golf course that has live bands and music playing all the time, and they have this cute little wooden trailer called the Pine Cone, and the Pine Cone is like this retro-y kind of camper that they pop open and they serve cocktails out of the back of it, and it's awesome. I think she's probably now the highest paid person that works at that resort because it's such a hot topic. So why would you do it any other way is what your experience affords. Butler service is a hot topic at some other resorts that we partner with, and in others it could be something as simple as upgrading or changing the amenities so that I'm changing behaviors. I'm having a different expectation of what should be. If I've traveled to the UK and I've purchased Penelligan's perfume, then I know this brand. So this brand speaks to me, and it ends up changing a behavior for me. Another one of our client partners here offers catered chalet experiences, changing behaviors when you have a private chef for your entire experience. Why would I do it any other way? These are things that we can do to create loyalty to our brand. Big ideas all the way to small ideas. And then, of course, the last is meaning. I want to be able to brag about it on social. Really, fundamentally, that's what meaning means, right? What happens with Vail Spa condominiums, East West Destination Hospitality, etc., after that guest leaves? Are you only thinking of the next visit someday, or are you thinking of how you're going to get back there again soon? So that, you know, those 5 days a year where you feel like you truly are a skier or a golfer or a hiker or a yogi in training, that's where your true self kind of emerges. And those are the times where we can be thinking, to your point, Jessica, about ways that we reach out to those guests every other day of the year. There was a Habis's Meaningful Brand study that showed that 75% of consumers expect brands to make more of a contribution to our well-being and quality of life, yet only 40% believe that brands are actually doing that. Okay, so I've given you a ton of thought right now, I'm sure, and things that you're already thinking about that you do, and thinking, I know we do that, but I didn't realize that it was a way that we could actually create loyalty. Or maybe you're thinking of something that you haven't been doing yet that you want to start doing. So share with us, what are some thoughts that you have after you look at these 5 different sort of loyalty trends or strategies?
Well, we do other things rather than just email and phone calls. We do social media and blogs, and they can follow us on those types of things. Being a good resource for them. For us, we really have a one-up on a lot of other companies because we do everything from the reservation to the check-in to the concierge. So we really have a lot of opportunity to build that trust with our guests.
I agree. I agree.
I love the idea, and not every resort has this opportunity, but of making the check-in a more valuable experience. Like you were talking about, whether you have the ability to be there for the transportation. That's a big one. That's kind of tough for a lot of people to do. But even if you had somebody that came out and said hello to people while they were in line, made sure they had a glass of water, pointed out things that they can be doing or things they can be looking at while they're waiting, versus just having people stand in line. It's the worst. You're tired, you've been traveling, you're excited, and boom, you're standing in line for 20 minutes. So it kind of crushes your spirit a little bit.
So a technique that we train on here it's called resetting the clock. And Yolanda, you just sort of alluded to that a little bit. And I see that as being a great tactical thing that you could use in flow. How are you resetting the clock so that guests, even if they're in queue, are always feeling like they're being touched? Because as soon as I talk to them, as soon as I provide them with a glass of water, as soon as I make eye contact with them, whatever, I reset the clock in their mind, and the wait doesn't feel as much like waiting.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you've considered perhaps when you've thought about how you create loyalty, or maybe something different you could be doing or tweaking?
I have an idea of something that I want to consider starting. So we have, an opt-in place where you can, on our webpage, opt in for emails or information from us. And, that would include our specials and things like that. So I'm looking to do kind of a touch, as they would call it, that would send out to them immediately once they opt in, just to say welcome, just to sort of open up that relationship.
I like
that.
Would this be internet generated or handwritten?
Yeah, we're working with Navis, the Reach version of Navis, and doing an automated email once they opt into our email newsletter.
Awesome.
I love that. I might be one of those nerdy people that just really like to follow places on Facebook or whatever, but it's exciting to me when I go to a new hotel or when I go to a new town and I do that. I get to follow their, like, for example, the resort here in town that my husband works for. I love seeing their posts, and I'm like, oh, they're doing a concert series, or that really excites me. So why would I not want to go back there if I know what's going on and I feel like they invited me to that, versus you can follow us if you want. No.
Yeah, exactly.
You're part of the family. I like that.
So just recently, we're building attendance for an event that we're doing in Breckenridge for the town of Breckenridge on June 4th, and we invited 150 people, Yolanda, through a MailChimp, and nobody responded. So what I did was I individually emailed all 150 people that we invited, and suddenly 25 people RSVP. So to me, that told me the value of personalizing, which it's great when you have the CRM ability to be able to get the information that you need, but then the way you use the information that you have is going to be the thing that's going to make the difference. So don't underestimate the value of something like a postcard that has beautiful scenery on it as your next touch point, welcoming them, or a handwritten note in the condo, or something that's on the pillow. Those are things that you can easily do, and they might take more time, but your return on your time is going to be much better, much, much better. So how do you start? Capture and share those golden nuggets. Brigitte, the next time you're talking with a guest on the phone and you're qualifying them, ask questions. It's not nosy. It's okay. And you do such a wonderful job of qualifying. And there are times where we feel like I'm being a stalker right now. I know it. This is so uncomfortable. But there are tasteful ways that you can get at a fair amount of information. And when you capture them and you share them, not just in a written way, but also in a, I'm going to review this prior to that guest checking in tomorrow at 4 o'clock and communicating to Jamie, hey, the Thompson party's coming in. I made their reservation 3 months ago. I remember during our conversation, though, that they said that they, oh my goodness, that they are dog lovers. They are so into just pets in general. So I want to put together for them maybe a list of dog parks in the area, so that they can get their pet love in while they're here. I don't know, something like that. But those tiny little things that you do are the ways that you can capture and share those golden nuggets. And of course, other things that you can do, and this is really in keeping with our series of top 10 tips for managing you. We're almost at the end. Consider ways that you are also open to the idea of loyalty. Are you receptive to it, or does it feel like more work for you? And when you're receptive to it and you're looking at every guest and saying, this is a guest that's going to be our guest for life. And if I can build this relationship with this guest, it's going to make my job much easier. Then you are coming with the right mindset that's going to create the right type of environment for you as well as for your guests. So in summary, this is a great quote. A brand for a company is like a reputation for a person. You earn reputation by trying to do hard things well. Creating loyalty is hard, but it is something that when you can isolate these key areas that create loyalty, you're definitely going to be on the right path to thinking differently about the things that you do every day. So we have 1 more minute. Who has the first question before we wrap up our green room for May?
I have a question. So one thing that we do is we do guest gifts. So we do little, sunscreens and sunglasses and things like that. And
Love it.
I think we could do more of that. I think that's fun for people, and it can be really personal too. So something we have coming up this summer is the Jazz Fest, and we want to do a special, but I don't just want to do a discount. I want to throw something in there. So what do you guys think would be like really awesome add-on personal things for people coming to the Jazz Fest events this summer?
So smart.
I like it. Well, you could you include a CD?
That's what I was thinking, even could you go as far as, who are they coming to see perform? Which performances, which group are they specifically here for? How cool would that be to have that CD waiting for them in their condo?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For the concerts, is it a lawn concert or is it a seated concert?
Most of them are like in the square, sort of by Arabelle. So some seating under a tent, mostly kind of stand around, not necessarily on the lawn. Otherwise, I would think like the lawn blankets, the picnic basket kind of things would be really cool too. There's definitely some opportunity for that with some of the other concert events. I think that's a good idea.
I like that idea.
What else would you want though? Like a koozie maybe, or like what could you take with you to? Asville Spine is useful.
We have about approximately 7,000 koozies at my house, but we never fail short of getting a new one. So that could go wrong. Maybe, I don't know how hot it would be, but one of those little fans or those little spritzer bottles or something.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
Even water bottles.
Yeah.
Water bottle, so it's reusable and they can, fill it up while they're there.
I'm not sure if this is an issue for you. I doubt it in the mountains, but here in Pittsburgh with all of our sporting venues, everyone must go in with clear containers, clear bags, clear purses.
Yeah.
So maybe providing something that's more security approved if ever needed, that would be a great amenity.
That's definitely not something I'm packing in my suitcase, is a clear bag. So that's a good idea. I
just went to a bluegrass festival this weekend and I came home with like 20 koozies. So Yolanda, I'm with you.
seriously, like boxes in our garage and drawers, and they spill out when you open them, but I still need that one.
That's funny. I don't have a single one.
What?
Well,
I'll send
you're
you some.
one.
Google it.
House or Jessica's house, we'll have you covered.
Yes, seriously.
Totally.
Well, we'd love to brainstorm more with you. So if this is becoming a thing where you're still torn, reach out to us. We would love to help. Next month in June 28th at 2 o'clock, prioritizing training in busy times will be the topic. So hopefully you can join us for that one as well. And as usual, they're always recorded, and we invite you to touch back to them if there was something that you didn't perhaps write down, or something that you didn't articulate the same way, or you would like some clarity on, and always continue to reach out to us. So thanks everybody for participating today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Erica.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Erica.
Thank you, Yolanda.
Thanks, Yolanda. Bye-bye. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Recording still going on?